Hi, everybody. Hola. Welcome to another live with me. Today is just going to be like an Alicia rant kind of video. If you check out the title, it's really in response to this criticism that this take on I Don't Dream of Labor has been getting recently. So welcome. Please let me know where you're watching from if you're here. I usually have the message on the bottom, but please let me know. Let me actually put it up. Please let me know where you're watching from. Yeah, and thanks for being here. Yay. Okay. So, like today, I've been in a contemplative kind of place today. One, because I started out with an interview with Picky Girl Travels the World. Please check her out. She's amazing. I mean, we got into this really, really deep conversation this morning around a lot of things. But one of the things we kind of touched on was this trend that's been going on called I Don't Dream of Labor. And so maybe you've seen a lot of videos on it where people have been talking about they don't dream of labor or they don't have like a dream job, things like that. And I also made my own version of that video in June. Hi, welcome. In June, I made my own version of that video and really talked about my take on not dreaming of labor and what that really means for me, what that would look like, and the dreams I would have for the future generation that came before us. So, hi, Marquita, welcome. So this trend, if you're not familiar, this trend basically, somebody that I watch called Lynette Adkins, and a lot of other people have done this video as well. But it's her take on not dreaming of labor, like not wanting to have a dream job, not dreaming of labor. Like that was the whole point of the video. And it was also talking about like how we are workaholics in this country, in this Western civilization, in this Western culture, and how we are literally primed to be like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like as soon as you're a kid, like the first thing you think about is like, oh, how am I going to contribute to society monetarily, right? With my time, with my labor, with my body, with my energy. And so all these years were groomed to go be that thing, like whatever that thing is, as long as it makes money, as long as it makes sense, right? And yeah, I thought it was an amazing video, like an amazing take. It really gave words to like what I was feeling and thinking for all this time. Like y'all know I'm anti-hustle and culture, hustle and grinding culture. I'm anti working yourself to the bone. I'm anti like just working hard for the sake of working hard. Like I'm overworking hard, right? And so I saw that and I thought it was brilliant. It was genius. And that's why I shared my video. Now I see that a lot of people felt some type of way about that video, right? There are a lot of videos, if you look online, people saying that it's arrogant to talk like that it's unsensible to talk like that people are lazy and entitled, and those videos are pushing people to not want to work at all, right? They're pushing people to like, oh, I'm never going to have a job. I'm never going to go to school, all these things, right? And so I've been watching those videos and I just I have thoughts, right? So the whole reason why I'm doing this live is because I have thoughts about their thoughts about the original idea of I don't dream of labor. So, I mean, people might have a dream job, right? People might have jobs that they want to work, jobs that they want to put in time for, jobs they want to study for. But again, this idea that she was putting out there wasn't, and other people like her, she wasn't saying like, oh, you shouldn't have a job, you shouldn't work, you shouldn't, aspire to anything. She was just saying that this society that we live in is toxic. So I'm going to give some rebuttals to some points that I've heard. And feel free to chime in, give me your thoughts and your opinions on this, because I have a lot of them. Okay. So I've been doing some research. I was supposed to like take a break between, what was it, like 4 o'clock? No, 5 o'clock maybe, and now, but really I've just been like typing up notes to keep myself on track and looking up things like to support these arguments that I have. Okay. So the first thing, right? People criticize these videos because they said people are lazy, entitled, and unrealistic, and they're trying to convince other people to just give up their jobs, join YouTube, or, travel the world and not be responsible adults, right? And that's unrealistic. So first, let's look at the definition of labor, right? So I'm going to actually share my screen with you guys because I think it's important to talk about, if we're going to talk about labor, we really need to talk about the definition, right? Yeah. So here we go. I'm going to share this with you guys. Okay. I hope you can see it. But essentially it says labor, right? And this is Google. Okay. So I have what I want to say highlighted, right? But work, especially hard physical work, right? Labor. Like when I think of labor, I think of women giving birth, right? I think of like hard, strenuous work to push out a life, to push out a baby. Another definition is, of course, like labor, like I guess like the Labor Party in the UK or Canada. That's not what I'm looking at. Labor as in a verb, right? To work hard and to make great effort, right? They labored from dawn to dusk, right? Then the second or third definition that I'm going to look at is labor, have difficulty in doing something despite working hard, right? Having difficulty in doing something despite working hard. So even this idea of laboring, y'all saw my notes, but even this idea of laboring, it's not the flex. Like, it's not the flex that we think it is to say, like, oh yeah, I labored for this. I worked hard for this. Like, I strived and I strained for this thing. Because really, when you're saying you're laboring for something, you really mean that you're working hard for something, even though it doesn't work out, even if it doesn't work out, right? And you're not just doing work. You're like bending and breaking your body. Like, that's what I think of. Again, laboring, in labor and delivery, giving birth to a baby. A woman's body is broken. You see what I'm saying? Like a baby is either being cut and ripped out from her. Like, they take out the organs, they put it on the side, pull out the baby, put the organs back in, sew her back up. You know, if a woman is giving birth like vaginally, you know, the baby's coming out, there might be some tearage, some rippage, and all this other stuff going on, right? So like, labor is not this word that we can just throw around and use it loosely. Labor is intense. Labor is something serious. And so for these people saying that I don't dream of labor, you know, we really have to be honest and say that who really does dream of labor? Like, who sits and wonders and like, oh my God, I can't wait to like labor and, you know, speaking of giving children specifically, like give birth to this child. Like, of course, this person wants to see their child at the end, and it makes the labor worth it, right? But labor for the sake, sorry, baby, but it's true. Like, it's you know, it's intense, but it's true. Like, labor for the sake of labor is not worth anything. Labor for the sake of labor, nobody wants that. It says, like, even in scripture, it says, like, when a woman gives birth, she forgets the pain that happens, because leading up to it, a lot of women feel like they'll die. My mother literally said she felt like she was going to explode giving birth to my brother. Like, I don't want to imagine what that feels like. But she said she felt like she was going to explode in labor. And so this idea that we should all strive to like, oh, I want to feel like this is kind of absurd when you think about it, right? So my first rebuttal to this whole thing, right? Again, we idolize people who labor. Like, we look up to these people like they're heroes. And I really feel like they should be honored, right? They should be honored for the work that they put into the system. But we really have to understand that, like, you know, for a lot of us, labor comes, especially if you're not privileged, labor comes as like a norm. Like, it's normal to labor. It's normal. Like, yeah, I worked my fingers down to the bone. You know, I did back-breaking work. When we think about our ancestors and the people who came before us, they labored. And sadly, a lot of them don't have anything to show for it, right? And so if we're really going to opt into and that's why I said I'm not for hustling, I'm not for grinding, because like I said, it's a slap in my ancestors' face. That's what I believe. I believe it's, if I have a choice not to labor and not to do back-breaking work and to kill myself for a check, when my ancestors did that for free, you feel me? Like, I'm just not opting into that. So again, like I said, I got notes, so I'm gonna try to keep it together, but I get very impassioned, so y'all gonna have to excuse me. But either way, in our society, hard work is worn as a badge of honor, right? It's like, oh, such a hard worker, such a skilled worker, right? But then on the other hand, besides the hand claps and accolades, a lot of people don't get anything after that. Like, a lot of people don't get anything after just that hard work, except for you just work so hard. And it's like, yeah, you know, I did, you know? And money-wise, a lot of people don't get the due that they're supposed to be given, right? Think about, again, your ancestors that built this country. What did they get in return for their labor? Absolutely nothing. Like, literally nothing. Literally dust, right? Literally people having to figure it out on their own. So again, here goes my arguments. Y'all ready? So for a lot of us, hard work does not pay off. Unfortunately, I know people keep telling us, like, even when we're younger, just work hard at it, it'll come. Just work hard. But if we say that to people, we're really being disingenuous, because we really have to reference the systems in society that hold us back and hold us down. Working hard doesn't always profit us. It profits somebody, but it's just not us, right? So yeah. Hi, Keisha. Welcome. Hi. But yeah, like, you know, working hard does not always profit us. It profits other people. I think of people who, you know, work in Amazon facilities, right? They work hard. The strenuous activity, the restrictions on when they can use the bathroom, all the stupid stuff that they are protesting, like all these horrible things that they're protesting. And yet Jeff Bezos is at the top making billions of dollars, right? They're making billions. He's making billions. He and his family or whatever are making billions. Yet the people who are working the hardest are barely getting by, don't have health care, you know, have to pee in cups. Like, you see what I'm saying? So like, this idea that hard work pays off all the time. It's not true. Unfortunately, it's just not true. Yes, it doesn't always pay off. Exactly, Keisha. Just be and flying to space. Got the nerve. He got the nerve to fly to space. And the people who work for him and who are making his billions are struggling. Don't know how they're going to pay their rent next month. Like, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. But it's true. It's true. It's funny, but it's sad at the same time, right? So one of the arguments that someone has said about this idea of not dreaming of labor, they said that it was a privileged thought, right? Like it's a privileged thought to be able to sit and dream of not dreaming of labor. Like the act of dreaming beyond labor is coming from a privileged place. To that I say that is not true, right? To that I say that is not true. I'm going to keep going back to my ancestors, right? My ancestors dreamed of freedom. They dreamed of not laboring, right? They dreamed of resting, and you can hear it in the songs that they sang. You can see it in them running away, despite, the risk of them dying. You can see it in the way that sadly, some of them killed their own children because they would rather them know heaven than to know a hard life like this, right? It's like, again, I'm getting impassioned, let me calm down, but still, like, this idea that it is a privilege to dream of not laboring is simply not true. All these songs about the great by and by, when we all get to heaven, like even to this day, the songs we sing in church, we're all dreaming about freedom. We're all dreaming to study war no more, to labor no more, right? The same language and the same rhetoric that we use today was used back then. And again, like I say, if it is from a privileged place to be able to dream of not laboring, then why were people running away? Why were people plotting and planning to leave the country? Why were to leave their, not the country, the plantation, not even understanding the territory they were running through, right? Like they were so set on being free, so set on not laboring. They were willing to swim through waters they'd never swum through before, to meet people they've never met before in the Underground Railroad, because they dreamed of freedom, because they dreamed of laboring no more for free. You see what I'm saying? So, Marquita, hi, facts. No, but for real, like, but for real, like this idea that it is a privilege to dream of not laboring is simply not true. It's just not true. Like I said, even with the uprisings, right? Uprisings in slavery times, or with enslaved people, I should say, like, people will uprise, and they knew, some of them knew that they were outgunned or outweaponed. You know what I'm saying? Like, they knew that the odds were stacked against them, and yet still they persisted, and yet still they uprise, right? Why? They uprose, I guess that's the past tense. They rose up because they dreamed of not laboring. That dream had them willing to fight and lose their life to not labor anymore. So yes, the second point, right? The second, and y'all feel free to chime in. But the second argument that I heard against about how labor, not dreaming of labor is not good. I guess I should just say that, is that they said third world countries dream of labor. Okay. So no, technically I do not live in a third world country. I cannot speak from the position of someone who lives in a third world country. But really think about why third world countries exist in the first place. Why do third world countries exist in the first place? First of all, let's a little lesson. Third world countries, the term didn't even exist before the Cold War, right? So during the Cold War, you got the US, you got the Soviet Union, right? US and its allies were considered first world countries. The Soviet Union and their allies were considered second world countries. The third world countries were just the countries who did not align with any of them. And also they started calling them third world countries. Why am I stuttering? They started calling them third world countries because a lot of them were impoverished, right? So even this idea of third world countries is kind of a new concept. So let's start there, right? So with third world countries, like, we really have to determine who determines who is third world, who determines who gets the wealth and who doesn't, who is impoverished and does not. And how are the countries impoverished, right? Like, we got to think about all this stuff, right? And Dina, yes, it's still a fight we are fighting. Exactly. To this day, right? Because these countries, before they were colonized, before they were touched by white hands, they were doing pretty okay. Like, they were fine. They were fine until someone put in a system that deemed them to be impoverished, that took their resources, that mined their resources, and gave none of the money back to the people, because honestly, a lot of them didn't even use the same currency that the colonizers used. So like, the colonizers, the people who won, get to determine who is impoverished and who is not. They impoverished, they imprisoned, they oppressed these countries, right? So like we can't really use that example like, oh, like these third world countries, like that's why I empathize with them. That's what I'm saying. Like we can't really say that it's their fault that they're impoverished, because that's not the facts. That's not the facts. Keisha said exactly, yes. Keisha also said because the first world countries created a pipeline to drain them of their natural resources. Exactly, Keisha. Exactly. So yeah. So again, the reason why these countries are impoverished, are third world, is because other people colonize them, use their stuff, like Keisha just said, and drain their own resources. A lot of the countries that are impoverished, they had gold, they had oil, they had all these other resources. And again, this is still happening today, like Indinia said. They had all these resources that they're unable to tap into and use to leverage. Exactly. Coffee, cocoa, spices, gold. Exactly. Like all this stuff that people had, but they used it for their community, right? It wasn't something to use to leverage resources from other communities. Other countries. Wing Wolf 500, I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because that's in my notes. Pocahontas is in my notes. We all saw that movie. We all saw how, what all the white people, John and them, like they came over. First of all, the story's not true, but whatever. They came over and they're like, savages, da-na-na-na-na-na, right? Like they looked at the natives as if they were savages, right? And so I have this book called Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States, right? And so in this book, it chronicles like the history of the United States from the people who were oppressed perspective, but also the people who oppressed the people who came here. Okay, I hope I'm making sense. But either way, it says, right, from this book, the Indians, Columbus reported, are so naive and so free with their possessions that no one who has not witnessed them would believe it. When you ask something, okay, I'm stuttering, y'all. When you ask for something they have, they never say no. To the contrary, they offer to share with anyone, right? So we're talking about the heart and the soul of these people who were here on this country before, well, not this country, but it's a lie. Who were on the land before Columbus got there, giving people, right? And he called them naive, as if like to look down on them, like, oh, these stupid, silly little Native Americans, like, they're just giving away their stuff, right? Another excerpt from this book, it says, the Indians have no religion, at least no temples. They live in large communal bell-shaped buildings, housing up to 600 people at one time, made of very strong wood and roofed with palm leaves. They prize bird feathers of various colors, beads made of fish bones, and green and white stones with which they adorn their ears and lips. But they put no value on gold and other precious things. They lack manner of commerce, neither buying nor selling, and rely exclusively on their natural environment for maintenance. So again, just like the Pocahontas movie, I'm glad that you brought that up. Oh no, the internet is messing up. Hope that y'all can still hear me. But if you can't, let me know. Either way, just like the Pocahontas movie, right? The people that colonized, Virginia, the people that colonized the area, they looked at the Native Americans as they were savages, but really they had their own thing going. Nobody wanted for anything. Like they were taken care of. There was no caste system, right? Like everybody was taken care of in their community. But now, like these colonizers come, and now it's like, oh, actually, these stupid natives, like they don't know anything about it. We're also going to trick them into giving us their gold and giving us their what we deem as valuable, so that we can inherit the wealth from that. So I'm glad that you brought that up again about the Pocahontas thing. That's the point, right? The point is that the colonizers, the people who won, right, the people who were able to take over, they determined for anybody who learns through for real. What we learn in school is not through. But yeah, it's really important that. No. Oh no! Can you see me? I feel like on a commercial. Hey. Can y'all see me? I don't know if y'all can see me, but anyway, if not, I'm just gonna pause until it comes back, and then we can get in there. Just hang on one second. Okay, it's coming back, is it? Is it coming back? Is it coming back? Okay. It says I have like 2 bars, so I hope. Okay, cool. And we're back. All right. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know. And I knew the internet was going to act up. I knew it was going to act up. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you, indeed. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for your patience. But essentially, I don't know what part I left off at that I started messing up. But essentially, the whole point is that Columbus and his people and his colonizers came over to a country where they didn't value gold. They didn't put any value in these things that they found valuable. And so they used them, like Keisha said, they used them, drained them of their natural resources, and then used their resources against them to make them the impoverished people. You see what I'm saying? Like, so we really got to talk about, if we're going to talk about third world countries, let's talk about it. Let's really talk about why third world countries exist in the first place, right? But again, also, even talking about why third world countries dream of labor, right? Is it really that they dream of labor, or is it that they dream of having resources? Is it that they dream of having a financial system that benefits them and not the people that are mining their resources and taking their things, right? I feel like that's an important delineation to make, because even to say again that third world countries dream of labor, they dream of money and resources. Like, again, like why do we have all of these islands, right, who make all their money from travel? Like, colonization. Like, they were fine before you got there. Recently, we saw a recent tweet from this woman in Hawaii who was saying that they're tired of people coming there to visit. And because she said that, I'm not going to Hawaii because I respect it, right? But they're tired of people coming, and they're taking all of their resources from the people, taking their land, like taking like the actual like property from people to make room for more hotels, room for all this travel and fun stuff, while the people of Hawaii are actually suffering. Like, the people of Hawaii, like, and not even the people who want to belong to the United States of America, Hawaii, the people who in Hawaii don't want all this stuff happening on their island. And it just speaks to how far colonization has come, how much damage has been done because of it, and because of capitalism. At the end of the day, it's all because of capitalism. I have other points, so let me keep going, because I can go on forever. But yes, A People's History of the United States is a great read for those of you who really want to find out like the history of the United States from the mouths of the people who colonized, who oppressed, and from the oppressed and the colonized people. So yeah, I recommend that book. But either way, that was the point of me reading that. Okay, so the next point I want to say is, again, they dream of a stable economic structure that supports its people and not just uses it. Again, you know why third world countries exist, right? Why they're named third world countries is because of a war. And again, the people who determine that the third world countries are the people who abuse and use them and neglect them. Okay? And also understand that they couldn't be allies to a country because they didn't have resources that country wanted. So that's a whole other conversation. Again, it gets sad. But the next point I want to say is, working hard is not the flex you think it is. And they're not lazy. Like, people who choose not to work hard are not lazy. I know that especially as Black people, we have been conditioned to work hard for everything we have and to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps, right? But look at the country and the people who founded this country. The people who founded this country did not pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. They actually built the country using other people's resources, other people's bodies, other people's labor, right? So even this idea that somehow we can aspire like to great heights that this country has aspired to, if you consider it great heights, is a lie. It's a lie that we're sold all the time. Hold on. Wingwell said, reading Rainbow book suggestion. Nice. Yes, absolutely. I still need to reread it, but it is a really heavy book. I'm gonna say that too, because it's honest and true. It's a lot of heavy stuff in there. It just goes downhill from there, clearly. Because anywho, but yeah, it's sexy to say, look at all the work I've done, right? So I have a video coming out tomorrow talking about like no one is self-made, because no one is self-made. There's no such thing as a self-made person. And even this country is not a self-made country. This country was built on the backs of other people. It was stolen from people and built on the backs of other people, right? And so it feels good and sexy to be like, I did all this by myself. I'm such a hard worker. Look at me. I'm amazing, right? It's a stroke to the ego. It's prideful. But we really have to be honest about that, right? To call other people lazy is disingenuous. Because they opt out of doing that hard labor and that hard work that you want to do doesn't mean that they're lazy. It just means that they're choosing another option for themselves, right? For example, right? And we also have to talk about class. We have to talk about class in this country, because why is it that a McDonald's worker is looked at as like scum, but a lawyer at a high tech company, or at a high company, right, is looked at as like he made it, right? The person working at McDonald's is not lazy. I worked at McDonald's, okay? I don't know if Marcus is here or not, but listen, or either other people who worked in fast food, that's a hard job. Working fast food sucks. It sucks. The pay is low. The people are mean. You're overworked, right? Like you're overworked and like underutilized. Like your potential is like stomped. Like they want you to be these managers, but even the managers don't even get really good benefits for being a manager. It's just really bad. So I worked at McDonald's I worked there for 2 years while I was in high school, and then 2 more years when I was in college, or 4 years. Either way, I worked at McDonald's a long time, and it was just like fast money or whatever, but the job is strenuous. And so I remember a customer like wanted to cuss me out because his coffee wasn't the right order when I didn't even make the coffee, whatever. So a lot of people treat people that work at fast food companies as like they're lower than me. Like they're somehow, even though they're making your food, they're lower than me, right? Like they are not worthy of respect and care and love, right? And so people in these jobs, they don't have health care. A lot of them don't have a lot of money, right? You can't make a livable wage working at a fast food place. Like it's just not possible. It's just not possible unless like you're living with like very meager means, right? But if you're living with little, right, that doesn't really give you a lot of room to grow, to accumulate wealth, to pass down wealth to your next generation. It doesn't give you a lot of money to put money back into the economy because you're too busy trying to struggle and survive. Jamal CP says a lot of service jobs are looked down on until they're necessary. COVID showed y'all, and people sadly lost their lives. In PG County, a girl worked at a grocery store and she passed away because she had to work because she was a what is it, like a what do you call, not first responder. I have the word caught up in my head, but yeah, like she was, oh my gosh, the words almost took my tongue. Either way, mandatory. Like it was mandatory for her to go to that job. Somebody tell me what that word is. But either way, beyond COVID, before COVID, people were looking down on people who worked at the grocery store. And I heard even some of my friends, yes, a cashier, exactly. I heard some of my friends talk about like, oh, even sadly, some of my friends talk about like, oh, like this job is less than, oh, you should aspire to be more than just this. But somebody has to do this job. Somebody has to stock the grocery store. Somebody has to, work at McDonald's. Like somebody has to do it. Like, because honestly, people go to McDonald's to survive. Like literally, like there was a time when I was going to Burger King to survive. You know what I mean? Like getting dollar nuggets to survive. If nobody worked there, I would have no food. You see what I'm saying? Like, so Carla Walker says, I'm still there. And I celebrate you. I really do. But I'm saying all that to say, right? Like I'm saying all that to say that people that work in lower paying jobs are because they are lazy is disingenuous and it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful. Again, you praise Kroc, right? The guy who stole McDonald's from the McDonald's brothers, like an amazing man. He had a whole movie made out of him, but I'm glad that they told the truth because he's a crook, right? You celebrate Kroc, but then you spit on the cashier at McDonald's. There's something evil happening here, right? And we're going to talk about it when we get to the end. But even still, like we celebrate the people who get rich off of the poor. And so again, even this idea, like the shame that comes along with calling someone lazy. When you look at the Maryland unemployment and how many people were on unemployment, it's like, oh, these people are just lazy. They don't want to work. They don't want to work because they're getting paid more on unemployment than they would at their job. So for me, the first thought wouldn't be, oh, these people are lazy and they just don't want to work. The first thought that came into my head was, why aren't their jobs paying them more than unemployment? Why are they making more on unemployment than they are at their job that they work 40 plus hours a week at? How is that possible? Why is that okay? But again, it's easy to shame people who are on unemployment because it makes you feel like, oh, I'm making the right decisions in my life. We like to pretend that we know other people's story and why they're on unemployment. You have no idea what happened, right? Somebody could get sick. Somebody could literally just lose their job. And also they're reaping what they paid into the system. So how are they taking advantage of a system put in place to support people for this specific reason? Like, check your privilege. That really pissed me off when all that happened. Just B says, so that means that their job needs to pay more. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Carla says, oh no, not in fast food, but on the live. I apologize for the confusion. No worries. No worries. It's all good. But yeah, no, I apologize. I misunderstood that. But yeah, like the issue is not the people. We villainize people all the time. Look at those people. Look at those poor people on the street. Look at them. And we're so haughty and judgmental that we don't think that we could be them tomorrow. Most people are a paycheck away from poverty. Most people in this country, like majority of the people in this country, are a paycheck away from losing everything. And yet we think that because of other people's decisions that they are where they are. You know what I'm saying? Not the system. We're not going to question the system. We're going to question the decisions. And for me, that's an issue. You know what I'm saying? So yes, again, it's easy to blame the people and harder to change the system. And so because it's easy to blame the people, that's what we do. That's where we get stuck at. Another argument that I heard is that Black folks have been sold a lie that if you work hard, you can win. Like I said earlier, working hard does not always work out for us. That's not true. Again, the owners of the game move the goalposts. They change the rules. So once you've got the game figured out, like, oh, okay, now they can vote. Okay, now they can vote. Let's make it harder for them to vote. Technically, they can vote. But if they can't read this, if they can't read this, then they can't vote, right? If they can't sign their name, they can't vote. Like, if someone is incarcerated, they can't vote. Like, they keep moving and changing the rules. And we think that we're playing the same game. We're not playing the same game. We're 400 plus years behind, right? So they've had time to figure out how to still keep us behind in the game. We don't control the game. We don't. Essential workers. Thank you. That was what I was looking for. Thank you so much. Essential workers. Yes. So again, somebody said about the I don't dream of labor that you forgot poor people. No. They included poor people, right? But they're not saying there are some, again, when we were RVing full time, and I talked about this before, how the RV in like travel world has been gentrified too. It's glamorous now to live in your van. It's glamorous to live in your RV. It's glamorous to live in your car. Like, it's everybody's dream now. But 10 years ago, y'all were looking at people living in their cars and their RVs like they were poor, like they were trash. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when we were RVing in Florida, we saw people literally living in their homes with like 2 kids in a car, like in a truck, living in a rest stop. You know what I mean? And so again, we didn't forget the poor people. And so because of their life circumstances, it's not that people are like, you know what? I don't choose to work hard anymore. But it's like, no, this is all the money I have. So let me put this money into a car so I can live in it. You see what I'm saying? Jamal CP says the rules of the game are often withheld and it makes it difficult for folks to make any progress. That's a good point. So not only are we late in the game, but they didn't tell us the rules. They didn't tell us the rules, or they changed the rules and didn't tell us. And so now when we finally figured out the rules from like 1985, it's 2021. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we're behind. It's like the 100th edition of this game. Like, we really, really need to take that into consideration. That the rules of the game are often withheld. Absolutely. All right. Some people have to work 2 and 3 jobs, right? This is what I want to say. Like, I know people say like, oh, this whole I don't dream of labor thing is, it's privilege or whatever. No. People work 2 or 3 jobs to put food on their table, to provide for their kids. But again, the question is, why should they have to? Like, if you want to work 2 or 3 jobs, first of all, I don't know anybody who wants to work 2 or 3 jobs. That's the first thing. But if it would, I would feel better if people had the option to. But some people don't have the option to, and so that makes me question why you're not questioning the system and not the people. Yes, okay. These people are not lazy. They're just not willing to play the rigged game. Some people are just not willing to play the game. And why is that so upsetting to you? Why is that so upsetting to you? Folks can create their own version of what success is. People have been selling this American dream to people for 100, well, no, not 100 years. What year is it? Maybe. Anyway, people have been selling people this American dream, right? For a long time. The white picket fence, the 2.5 kids, a dog, but we really don't take into consideration, what does it cost me to get those things? Like, literally money wise, but also labor. If I'm only making $8.25 an hour and I want an $800,000 house, how many hours do I have to work? How many hours of my life do I have to trade for this house, right? Like, really think about that. If I make $15 an hour and I want a $500 house, how many hours of my life do I have to trade to get that thing, to get the American dream. Like, and some people are doing the math. They're doing the math, and the math is not mathing, right? Like, it's not mathing. And then it's like, okay, I'm just not going to play this game anymore, right? Like, I'm not going to play this game. I'm going to choose not to. And also understand, not everybody wants to be a millionaire. Some people are not willing to do the work to be a millionaire or a billionaire. Or some people are not willing to exploit other people to make $1 billion. Why do you need $1 billion, right? And that's okay. That's fine, right? So again, some people are doing the math, paying attention to their resources, their time, their commitments, their own values, and saying, you know what? I opt out. A lot of people leave the country. A lot of people move into their RV. A lot of people live smaller. They just buy land and build a tiny home on their own. Like, a lot of people choose alternative living, not necessarily because like they want to, but because they just choose not to play the game. And for some people, they're calling it unrealistic. When I see people doing that all day, every day, look on YouTube, look on Twitter. A lot of people are saying, nah, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. And also understanding the system. In order to make a lot of money, you have to sacrifice a lot, whether that's a college degree, again, time, exploiting other people. Some people's college degree costs $150,000, right? They will never see that. They will never see $150,000 a year in their paycheck. Like, it's the return on investment sometimes is just not adding up. And that's what we really have to take into consideration. I'm kind of like Santa Claus card from Santa Claus movie with all the rules in small text. Exactly. Hi, Devin. Welcome. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yes. Okay. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Absolutely. Yeah. The Santa Claus. See what you did there. On that movie. The rich don't work for money. They don't work for money. And it says you earn it by solving a human condition problem. I mean, that's true. That's fair. But again, like, we really have to talk about, again, not everybody is afforded the same opportunity to do that thing. It's just the truth. Like, not everybody has the information, the resources. Like, again, my husband will tell you when he was in high school, they couldn't even take the book home, right? Like, and he went to Northwestern. He went to Northwestern. He couldn't even take the school book home to study. So we talking about resources. And this is a time where like the internet wasn't like booming like it is today with all this information. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people are behind trying to catch up. The Bible said, Indinia says, the Bible said to count the cost that go for your life. Yes, count the cost. And some people are saying that the cost is too high. And that's okay. And so they're choosing not to labor like their parents did, like their grandparents did, like their forefathers did for pennies. They're choosing not to do that. And so I don't understand why people are upset with it. I understand why, right? I mean, again, me and Picky Girl Travels the World talked about that this morning. But like, I understand why that happens, right? It's much like, again, like we talked about, she kind of mentioned this, like, if you decide, you know what, I opt out and you're living your best life and people go out there and people are watching you live your best life, you could, like, they'll start saying like, oh, why can't I live my best life, right? And some people are not willing to do that work to go live their best life, whatever that life looks like. It doesn't have to look like what I'm doing. It doesn't have to look like RVing full time. It doesn't have to look like starting a business or being a millionaire. Whatever they really want. We never really have time, even as kids, to check in with ourselves to be like, what is it that I really want to do? What is it? What is the gift that God gave me? How can I use this to serve other people? How can I make money from this thing, right? Do I even have the privilege of not having to make money from this thing, right? People are told to sell our gifts all the time, our talents all the time. We don't have any room for leisure. So like, if we can't figure out what it is we're here for, how are we ever going to make the impact on the world that we're supposed to make? And again, having that time to figure that out is privilege. A lot of people have had time and resources, or, you know, their parents let them stay in their house and figure it out for a year. Like, people have a gap year to explore their options. But a lot of people who are either poor or other, or like, you know, in poverty or Black, they don't have the time to really just sit around and figure out what they want to do. They got to hit the ground running. You see what I'm saying? Where can I find the scripture? Let me actually Google it. Count the cost. It's like if a man wants to build a house, hold on. If a man wants to build a house, he has to count the cost. Hold on one second. Count the cost scripture. Handy dandy Google. And of course he's talking about being a disciple, of course. But however, yeah, okay, Luke 14:25-34. And I'm sure there are other versions because this is in Luke. So copy. Okay, so yes, so again, like it says, like before you before you build a house, you count the cost, right? So it's almost like we never got a chance to count the cost. A lot of people were thrown into the game like, oh shoot, how much that costs? I ain't got that. Picking out, laying out the pocket, right? And so a lot of people have had time to figure out, okay, what is it that I really want to do? Like, how do I want to do this thing? How do I see myself doing this thing? Who can I serve? Like, we're not able to have that time to count the cost. Like, it's almost like that trick, like, oh, the menu, like, here's the menu and you eat it, right? John Jones talked about this on his podcast, and then, oh, surprise, the check is $75. Excuse me? Like, how do we get $75? It's the same thing. Again, some people are just not willing to play that game, and people are upset about that, right? And everywhere we look, like, people are losing their jobs because their jobs want them to be more efficient. They want them to be a machine, right? They're replacing their jobs in other countries. They're to save money, so they don't have to pay people what they're really worth, right? And again, another thing I want to say is not everyone wants to be a billionaire or a millionaire, and that bothers some people. Like, one of the videos that I watched that was that was kind of against the I don't dream of labor. She said, and I quote, "You better dream of labor. Those millions aren't going to make themselves." Whoa, I don't want to make $1 million, right? I don't want to make $1 million. And let's be real, the people who are making the most money are not laboring. They are about to go in space. Like we talked about, Jeff Bezos is about to go in space or in space right now. I don't follow him, but whatever. Like, he's in space. What's his name is like just relaxing, and we see them on yachts and like, vacationing and all this other stuff. They're not laboring. And yet they're making billions of dollars. But what they are doing is exploiting. They're exploiting their people, the people who work for them, right? And for some people, they're just not willing to do that. Not everybody wants to be a millionaire. Like I said, I don't want to be a millionaire because I'm not willing to do the work. Period. Like, hard stop, right? I'm not willing to do the work it takes to be a millionaire. What I am willing to do is the work that impacts people and the work that affords me a life that I can be proud of, that I can raise kids in if and when we have kids, a life that sets them up and sets us up for success. And that doesn't have to look like $1 million. You know what I'm saying? Devin says, you don't want 1 million records sold. I mean, sure, but like, I don't need that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need it. Like, if it never happens, I'm not going to be devastated. Like, my one dream in life actually has nothing to do with money. It actually has nothing to do with how many records I sell at all. Like, my dream is to be content, is to be healthy, is to be, joyous, being able to make impact on other people, is to be impactful. That's what I was looking for. Like, being able to influence change, to make change, and to opt out of the game. That's one of my dreams. Like, and for my kids to be free, for my brothers and sisters to be free. That's my dream. It actually has nothing to do with how many records I sell. If I do, that'd be amazing. That'd be wonderful. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna push it away if it comes. But again, I'm not gonna hold out that $1 million. I don't need $1 million. Like, I'm gonna give that money away. And I feel like that's the problem with some people. There's nothing wrong with attaining wealth. There's nothing wrong with getting money. But I feel like the problem is that people hoard it. They don't give it back. They don't set people up. Like, they give people loans and stuff when they should be giving grants, or just giving them the money and allowing them to catch up. Equity, right? That's what we all need. And so for me, like, yeah, that's not really my goal. But if it does happen, wonderful. And that, I would celebrate that, because then I can impact more change in my community. Carlton Grant, hi. Some people are so poor that all they have is money. Okay, I love that, because it's so true. Jess B says, people are choosing to seek a better life, whatever that looks like, they envision for themselves. Exactly. It's simple as that. Whatever that looks like for themselves. Why are we policing what other people do with their lives? As long as it's not hurting anybody, like literally hurting anybody, why should I care? Why do I care? Why do I care? Why do I care, right? It's because we're so used to, and again, to me, it goes back to slavery. When one person would act up on the plantation, we would all get punished for it. All of us, right? Like, we would all, like, our ancestors would get punished because of one person. And I feel like we still have that same mentality now, right? You can't run away. Don't do that, right? Like, or because people want you to be safe. And we think that the system that we're in financially is a safe system, and it's not. If COVID has shown you it's not, literally just the times people losing their jobs, right? It's not. When we had the government shut down, like, what was that? Like 2-3 years ago? It's showing you that, I'm gonna answer a question in a second, but it's showing you that nothing is secure. Your job is not secure. So even the system that we're playing into that we think is safe, it's not safe. It's not safety. Higher paying taxes. Exactly. The more money well, that might not always be true. But yeah, like the more money you get for us regular poor folk down here, right? Yeah, the more taxes you pay on that. Exactly. Jess B says, I am shocked people saw that video as people not wanting to work. Exactly. Me too. I'm like, when did y'all hear that? I definitely did not interpret it that way. This is interesting. Exactly. But again, it's that reaction. It's that reaction that like, oh, you're just lazy. Like if you don't want to work hard, you're lazy. It's like, no, I just don't want to work hard, or I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, Luke 14:28. Thank you for that. Devin says, do you demonize money or wealth? No, absolutely not. I don't. Listen, I want to be wealthy, okay? But the lengths that I'm willing to go to become that they're not all lengths. I'm not going to go all the way out just to become wealthy. But I also feel like my definition of wealth is different than a lot of other people's. A lot of people think that wealth is like all money. That's not it for me. Wealth is also about well-being, right? It's about like your relationships with people. It's about your community. Like there's no reason why I should be a billionaire and my people are poor. That doesn't make any sense, right? Like, so for me, these are my personal values. I define wealth as something else than what a lot of other people value wealth or define wealth to be. So I think that's where we start is like, what does wealth really mean to you? And again, no, I believe that money is just an opportunity to, again, share with other people, to build a life. Money is just resources. You know what I mean? So no, I'm not demonizing it at all, but I just feel like people use money in the wrong way. That's all. Jess B says, wealthy for some people don't look the same for everyone. Exactly. Some people, like, listen, they got their RV, they got enough food for the week, they're fine. Like, they feel wealthy. They have no debt. Hello? Like, low key, people who, and I've said this before, people that we look down on who are unhoused, right? People who, that we look down on, like who live in impoverished situations, a lot of their net value is higher than mine. Okay. So like this idea of what wealth really is, we really have to determine like what that means for us. You know what I mean? So yeah, it doesn't look the same for everyone. Exactly. Okay. So like I said, I'm not willing to do that work. And honestly, a lot of billionaires, they're just unethical in their practices. There's no way around it. Like there's no way that you have people on the street starving and you have billionaires and like there's not an unethical practice happening here. You know what I mean? That's just my own personal opinion. Okay. Corners have to be cut to be a billionaire. Just going to start there. Okay. So the enemy is not people. It's the system. And the system is pitting people against each other, right? It's the system. Capitalism by nature, this version of capitalism in America by nature is designed to chew you up and spit you out because this version of capitalism was founded by slavery. The only way that this country has amassed so much wealth, whatever, or money, I should say. Anyway, that's debatable. But the only reason why this country is so successful is because it was built off the backs of other people. This is this country's definition of capitalism, right? And so again, like I said, it's founded on slavery. It's founded on stealing land from other people. It's unethical. And so how did Black bodies get the title of being lazy when they built this whole country, right? And now we're deathly afraid of being called lazy. Like, no, I work hard. Like, where does that come from? Where do you think that comes from, right? It's just a way of life for us. Working hard has always been a way of life for us. And so it's really hard for us to divorce ourselves from this definition of lazy. Like people, like if you go back to old cartoons, there's this cartoon, I think it's been taken down, but it's on YouTube. You can find it. They don't put on TV or anything like that. But there's this town that's on the river, and it's a cartoon of Black people like just sleeping all day, like they're napping. And it's very racist. But basically this woman comes into town and she's very beautiful and she's singing this song and she gets these Black people woken up and they're like doing all this hard work again because Black people had the stigma of being lazy. And it's like, but how? Like we're the most overworked, we're the most exhausted people on the planet. How are we lazy? Like literally, if we were demonized for lounging at all, for taking any like time to ourselves, you're lazy, you don't work hard. This is why you don't have anything. That's a lie. The reason why you don't have anything is because they took everything from you or they used you to build their country and gave you nothing for it, right? That's the reason why we don't have nothing. It's not because we're lazy. Black people are not lazy. Even if you want to talk about drug dealers on the corner, they're not lazy, okay? Like you can, and again, yes, we have our thoughts about, yes, no, I don't think we should drug deal. Yes. Okay, let me say that to start, right? But they're ingenious. They're entrepreneurs, but no one gave them a chance to be an entrepreneur. You see what I'm saying? Like they're resourceful. You know what I'm saying? And also a lot of those people back in the day who were selling that stuff took care of their community. You know what I mean? So one thing that Black people are not are lazy. Like we're tired. We're not lazy. We're exhausted. Let me come back. So yeah, so now it's a way of life for us, right? So again, how are people who work 2 and 3 jobs not able to make ends meet? Why is that okay? How is that a thing? How are you working 2 or 3 jobs and not able to pay your bills? Why are people who need help from the government villainized when that's what the government is for the people, right? Like, didn't John Henry die? What are you talking about, Devin? Who? John Henry, like the story? Like the story? This is a very common name. Please let me know who you're talking about. I'm greed. I want everything that someone else has. Exactly. Like, and if people are content with what they have, we would have less strife, less drama, right? And also, we would not be policing other people for their choices. If they have enough, if them living in their car is enough and they're happy, leave them alone. Let them live in their car. Like, if they want to leave their job, let them leave their job. What's the issue? You know what I mean? Let's see. The elite top 1% are about to permanently relocate to space. Oh, gosh. A mere million would mean nothing. Listen, okay? This is crazy. But yes, he did die. Yes. You talking about the railroad thing? I could be totally wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But yes, I think his heart exploded, right? I think his heart exploded, if I'm not mistaken. It's a very violent story. Okay, yeah, he worked himself to death. Exactly. John Henry. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Absolutely. At Devin, yeah, that's how the story goes. He worked himself to death. Absolutely. And again, we're doing the same thing. Like, we're literally doing the same thing, right? We think, again, like, even the myth of like the welfare queen, right? This goes into the whole unemployment thing. Like, nobody wants to be on welfare. Nobody wants any help. But it's like, if you need help, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, they want us to pull ourselves up our own bootstraps. We paid into the system to be able to help us. Like, and also, y'all took us from a whole different country, a whole different continent. And then when we need help, now y'all want to villainize us and call us lazy. How? Make that make sense. Anywho. So again, we idolize billionaires who couldn't care less about us or the work environment they create for the people who work for them, right? But we actually aim to be them. Why? The people are not entitled, lazy, or unproductive. They have their eyes opened. They've given time to themselves to really reflect and figure out, this is not the life I want to live. Let me create a life that I'm actually going to enjoy. Let's wave them goodbye. Okay. Side note, did y'all see that there was like this petition to keep Jeff Bezos in space? Yikes. That's embarrassing. But again, my whole point in all this is that no one dreams of labor. Not one person on earth dreams of labor, okay? Nobody even wants, like, again, there's some people who enjoy working out, but why do they work out? They might like how they feel. They might like how they look, right? They might even like the act of working out. It just feels delicious. It feels good to them. I've never been one of them people. They might want to look sexy in their bikini. It's really about the outcome, right? Like, nobody wants to labor, but people enjoy what the labor brings, like as far as like the outcome, if you're being paid fairly. People enjoy being paid. People enjoy being able to go on vacation. People enjoy being able to eat. People enjoy being able to go visit their friends and their family. People enjoy having options and choices. So no one really loves labor, but people love what the labor should be bringing to them. It says the pandemic has shown that the current system is fragile AF. Listen, okay? It's looking kind of scary. It is fragile. And so even the idea that the people at the top of this country are like, oh, this is the greatest nation in the world, this is the richest. It's like, how? We're trillions of dollars in debt, number one. Like, how are we the richest nation? But then also, like, why are we demonizing and villainizing the people who are poor that you have failed to take care of? Like, you see what I'm saying? But yes, the pandemic has shown the heart of America, and it's not looking good. So no one dreams of labor. Again, we dream of getting out of debt. We dream of traveling, eating well, giving. Like, that's what we dream of. And also the people who even labor, like with like service jobs or like who are doctors and lawyers, the good ones, right? They dream of making an impact. And sadly, a lot of people cannot make impact because they don't have the resources to make said impact, right? They don't have the knowledge. How do I start a nonprofit? They don't have the resources to go to school, to law school, to make change in the world. Or if they go to law school, what's waiting for them is like piles and piles of debt. You're in bondage for wanting to help people. How does that make sense? And I've seen a study where they say like millennials are like ruining the economy because we're not buying houses like our previous generation did, like, what is it, Gen X and like the boomers, like they were buying houses like that because, well, anyway. But the reason why we're not buying houses, we ain't got it. Y'all ain't raised minimum wage than the longest. We got piles of debt. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have other people to take care of. Now we're in a place where we're starting to take care of our own parents. Like, you know, the reason why we're not buying this stuff is because we don't have it. But also, a lot of us have seen what it costs to have it. We see our parents suffer, our grandparents suffer, and we're just not willing to do the same thing. We're trying to break a cycle. So again, if we dreamt of labor, get rich quick schemes wouldn't exist, right? If we dreamt of labor, billionaires wouldn't exist on yachts or going to space, right? If we dreamt of labor, like, the people who want to be doctors wouldn't be met with piles and piles of debt at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And again, like, whatever job that we do have, they move the goalpost even then. So the people who came into the company before us, like the baby boomers, right? And it's not all of them, but some of them, came in. They started as a janitor, worked their way up to the CEO, right? And so now it's time for us to get a job, and we think we can work our way up the ladder too. But no. In order to have an entry-level position here, you need to have a college degree, 5 years experience, maybe like even a master's degree, right? So it's just like, you're changing the rules. Like, the rules are not the same. The rules are not the same. And also, it didn't cost as much to scale to go to school as it did when I went. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, Wing Wolf says, blaming the next generation when the previous helped put where the current generation are at. Thank you. I agree. Like, we really got to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't give ourselves the stuff. Like, we were sold a dream that worked at some point, but it just does not work anymore. You know what I mean? But yeah, I hate that. Like, that, oh, you millennials are ruining everything. Well, guess what? Like, they said that y'all were ruining everything when y'all were coming up too. You know what I'm saying? But they created the system that y'all live in. It's just not fair. It's not fair. So whatever kids that we do have in whatever their generation is going to be called, right? Like, that's our bad. That's our bad, whatever happens to them. You know what I'm saying? So yes. So like I said, even the doctors, they don't dream of labor either. They dream of making impact in their community. They dream of healing people, of seeing people well. They dream of, sure, like, the money might be glamorous, but what I've heard from a lot of doctors is that it's not as glamorous as they think, because they have like hundreds of thousands of debt to like pay back. So that's a whole other conversation. But again, they want to make change and impact. But a lot of people can't do it because they don't have the resources. But again, think of all the people who want to make impact on their community. All the people who are working 9-to-5 jobs who hate it. There are some people who work their 9-to-5 jobs who love it. Pay them fairly. People who work at McDonald's, some of them are very happy. Pay them fairly. Pay them a livable wage, right? But some people are working at these places because they don't have another choice, but they have other dreams of other things. But because of the system that we live under, they feel like they're unable to do that thing. You know what I'm saying? So like, we really got to be honest. And so all this to say, right? We're not starting from the same place or the same starting block. Again, for Black folks, we're 400 plus years behind, right? We're not starting at the same place. So there is no pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, right? There is no just figure it out. Like, literally, a lot of us are just figuring out. When we're falling on our faces, we're delayed, we're falling behind, and y'all are judging us for figuring it out, right? But no one gave us the steps to do it. And we're not, and also not blaming the previous generations for not knowing either, because they kept that information from them. However, we have to be real. This country did not pull themselves up by their own bootstraps, and this country left us out on purpose. So again, what is the solution, right? All this stuff, right? Thanks, SW. Welcome again. All this like combating, I was going back and forth. Like, we can talk to her blue in the face. Like, I can talk for days. You already know. Okay, I'll be ranting. But the truth is, like, we really have to figure out what is the solution. And so the solution for me that I would offer to you is to play your role. Choose whatever thing you need to do, right? Again, some people lobby, right? Some people go to the streets and demand justice. Some people picket sign, right? Like, some people are like the social justice warriors, right, of our time. And just being honest for myself, I've thought about taking that path, but because I've seen how wicked, and I've seen the foundation of this country and how wicked the foundation is, it's going to be really hard to dismantle all of the injustices, right? And again, like, yes, you eat a whole elephant by taking one bite at a time, right? But it's almost like, to me, it's been far too long trying to wait for justice. Like, how many, riots do we have to have? How many, I don't even like calling them riots, because that's a whole other conversation. But how many protests must we have for there to be change? When will someone start taking us seriously, right? So for some people, that is their work. Their work is to protest. That is their work. To have sit-ins, like our previous generations, to have the Occupy, right? Remember that whole time when people would live in their tents and like sit in front of like these buildings and be like, yo, like, what's up? Like, some people, that is their work. And some people opt out of labor. Some people say, I'm not willing to do that work. I'm going to make my own, like, I'm going to do my own justice work, right? My own social justice work. I'm going to opt out of laboring, and hopefully people will follow me. Hopefully people will see my message. And I think that's the point of people sharing their videos about not laboring anymore. It's not just to like, oh, I'm privileged, look at me. Because half of those people are not privileged. Half of those people are not making a lot of money. Half of those people are just tired and exhausted and burnt out. And they want to make a living doing what they're actually put here to do, right? So some people have said, you know what? Time out, America. I'm not playing your game no more. You're a cheater. It's not fair. I'm going to go and create my own success. Some people, right? Some people, like I said, make their own success. Some people move out the country. Some people say, you know what, bye. You know, and I know a lot of people, like, when we talked about this on our RV channel, some people were like, well, why are you here then? Why are you in America? First of all, someone stole me. That's why I'm here, right? If you want to take me back with some coin, like, please let me know, right? But also, like, just because I point out the flaws in the system doesn't mean that I'm just like, that I'm, well, just because I point out flaws in the system doesn't make me a bad guy, right? But some people are so tied to these American standards and these American beliefs. It's almost like America is their God. America is their God. And like, for me, it's not. Like, it's just not. Like, I'm here, right? But I also understand all the horrible things that this country has done. So like, that doesn't sound like God to me. And Denia says, peace is within you. Oh, peace is within you. You can't find it somewhere else. Exactly. You can't. That's very true. You can't. But some people do choose to move out the country because like it's cheaper, right? It's cheaper to live there. The people are a lot more friendly. They don't see them as machines, or they don't see them as how much money they make or what they do for a living. Like I've heard that from people like Stephanie Perry, and again, Picky Girl Travels the World, and like she doesn't loose. Like other people like these people, like they live in countries where people don't ask them. The first question they ask them is not like, oh, what do you do for a living? We're here in America. That's the first thing we ask people. It's like, dang, like you didn't ask me what I enjoy. Like, you know what my passions are. It's all about money. It's all about productivity, And like I said, some people choose to provide for their families. Some people choose to keep working that job that pays minimum wage because they have responsibilities. Some people, make their own success that way, right? And some people choose to find enough and be good with that. And I think for a lot of these people who are choosing to opt out of laboring, they found their enough. They figured like, okay, I've done the math. I can live off of this. I can be happy. I'm going to work 6 months and take 6 months off. That is my dream. I want to work 6 months, take off 6 months. That would be success to me, right? And some people, I just want people to stop demonizing other people's choices, right? Stop looking at people, oh, you're just entitled. You have no idea what these people go through on a daily basis. YouTube is like a one-dimensional experience with people. You don't know them. I don't care how much of their lives they show you. You don't know what their privilege is, right? You don't know what they've experienced. You don't know like how much money they make unless they tell you, right? So like this idea that it's so easy to sum up people with this thought, with this mindset of like, oh, people who want to, opt out of labor, they're lazy, they're not committed, they're just some unsuccessful people, is not the truth. Like, again, we see it all the time. The people who are making the decisions for us about how much money we should make, are making way more than minimum wage. How does that make sense? Why should that make sense? I believe that the people, and this, I don't want to get too political, but the people who are making those decisions need to make minimum wage so they know how much minimum wage actually is, right? Because there's no way you can make an informed decision. But that's a whole other conversation. But the whole point in all this talk is that you should just play your role. Low key, mind your business. You know what I mean? Like you should allow people, as long as it's not harming you, as long as it's not doing any bad to other people, right? Or as long as it's not unjust or unkind, what other people choose to determine what their success is their business. And we should celebrate them finding their success and use that energy instead of like, coming against them and calling them entitled. Understand that we have that same entitlement. We have that same option. We do. We get to choose what we want to do. Like we have we have agency over ourselves. You know what I mean? And understand some decisions might be harder than others. You know what I mean? Because again, privilege, because of responsibilities, because of, debt, all that good stuff, right? But realistically, like we do have a choice. We choose to go to that job or not. We choose to be in, you know what I'm saying? Like we choose to start a business if we want to, like, and whether or not that succeeds, it's not up to you, but we have agency in ourselves. And I feel like we should take that agency and do what we feel like is the best decision for us. So ultimately, that's all I wanted to say. I think I covered all my points. If that makes sense to you, let me know. If it doesn't, also let me know. If you have any, if you don't agree with what I'm saying, you can also leave a comment. But this was really bothering me. It was really bothering me because I just kept seeing videos like, y'all forget poor people and you're entitled and everybody can't quit their job and do YouTube. No, but no one said that. Who said that? Who said that, right? YouTube is not paying me any money, okay? No money. So, yeah, like, I don't plan on laboring for the rest of my life for somebody else's pockets. I plan on creating my own success. And that's it. So, as always, I want to shout you guys out for being here. Thank you. So, Marquita, yay, Jamile, Keisha, Jess B, Indenia, Wingo 500, Carla Walker, yay. I'm so glad that you were able to make it. I'm so glad that you're able, and I'm sorry, you guys, about the technical difficulties. I apologize. And I knew it was going to mess up. I was like, it happened. Let's see. That's me. Indenia again, Jamal again, Jess B, Carla. 500. Devin, thank you so much for coming. Carlton, yay, welcome again. Let me make sure. SW, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Seriously, I appreciate that. And thank you for contributing. That means a lot to me. Yes. Okay, yeah. So I started at 8:00. So I mean, if you want to rewatch it, you can. I hope this was informative, and I do want to know you all's opinions. I do. That's why I come here and talk about these things. And this was Alicia's rants. Exactly. I need some like theme music. Indenia says, thank you all so much for spending time with me. I hope this was informative. I hope this was at least thought-provoking for you. And if you didn't know that this trend was going on, I suggest you check it out, because a lot of people have a lot of things to say. A lot of us are over it. And some people do, like I said, have criticisms to offer, which I just talked about in the video. And yeah, I will. Oh yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you so much. And of course, I will catch you all live again. I'll be live again on Wednesday to talk about music stuff. And I might come back tomorrow. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I love you guys. Have a good evening. Talk to you all soon. Bye.